Hey everyone, happy Monday. You have Alyssa Corum here and Ed Carson on Stock Market Today. We're going to talk about the action for the major indexes. It was a down day, but Ed, we still had three stocks that were pretty notable that presented actionable buying opportunities.
That's right, Allie. We're going to take a look at Etsy, Innovative Industrial Properties, and General Motors.
All right. Well, before we get to those, a quick look at the major indexes. Here's the Nasdaq, which took a pretty hard hit today, down about 1.3%. The S&P 500 down 0.7%. The Dow down just 0.3%. But we still have the Nasdaq above that 13,000 mark, Ed. And if you take a step back, I mean, it's just been a pretty incredible rally since November. So, a pretty significant loss, but again, underneath the surface, there were some interesting moves still.
Yeah, and I think this was actually almost a positive because the Nasdaq was getting a little extended. It was 8% above its 50-day line as of Friday. It pulled back a little bit, so that's nice to see. The Nasdaq was dragged down by Tesla, by Apple, by Facebook, some of the big names, but as you're saying, a lot of the growth names had really strong days, and so it's really almost ideal if you can have the Nasdaq pull back a little bit and have growth stocks doing fairly well.
And here's a quick look at the Nasdaq on a weekly chart. I mean, what way we've come from these lows. It's pretty incredible. But let's talk about Etsy. Here's a weekly chart, up about 4% so far this week after pulling back for a couple of weeks to its 10-week line. Now rebounding higher, offering investors another opportunity to buy.
Yeah, I mean, this one, we saw a lot of pullbacks. There's not a lot of bases yet because we've been moving up so much, but some nice pullbacks here. Etsy came back. It didn't come all the way to the 10-week line, but it came close to that and rebounded it. And then I suppose if we look at a daily chart, it also rebounded above its 21-day exponential moving average. That's the green line there. So, tried to do that on Friday, but definitely did it today. You can even argue that there's a little sort of downward trend line from the high. You can do all sorts of things however you do it, and yeah, that looks good. And just offering a little, clearing a little resistance there, and just nice action above average volume too.
Yeah, it's really great looking at these stocks on the different time frames. The weekly really helps put it in perspective, and then you can kind of drill down and refine those buy points with the daily charts or even the intraday charts. And Etsy also was our stock of the day today, so make sure you check that out. I mean, it's speaking from personal experience, just how I'm going more to Amazon for things than I was before the pandemic. I am also using Etsy for things like home decor and things like that. So I feel like it's also growing in its popularity as a source to get things, purchase things online that you would get other places. But let's also look at IIPR, Innovative Industrial Properties, in the pot space, a REIT. But it doesn't really trade like a REIT, Ed. This stock up about 6% today in heavy volume. What's your take?
Oh, it's just very strong action. It came down to the 21-day line, actually undercut it, sort of shook people out. It came close to the 10-week line, but the really strong action here is on the 21-day. Really rebounded on that, breaking the trend line. It's just sort of the interesting. It looks a lot like Etsy. It's going to look a lot like GM. It's like these are different sectors, but these patterns come in over time. I mean, it's not like, the reason why we look at them is because this is a bullish action, and this is what, you can see it goes decade after decade, sector after sector.
That's right. And this is not the first buying opportunity that we've seen for IAPR over the months. Just drawing lines here, you can find those actionable opportunities when the stock is clearing prior resistance. Those are just a couple of areas to point out for everyone. And GM, we also want to take a look at this one on the weekly chart. Now, this one did undercut its 10-week line actually twice in the last 4 weeks. But nice to see those upside reversals and closes above that level, and it's continuing higher. This was a trade that we added to Swing Trader, and it's been motoring higher ever since.
That's right. And, it was nice action, and, it sort of held around the 21-day line. Now it really rebounded off the 10-week and the 21-day, moving up the right side of this flat base. So these are sort of early buying points that we've had over the last few days. if it breaks out of this base, it'll be at an all-time high. You look at the fundamentals, well, they're pretty lousy, but factories were shut down for a couple of months. And so that affected things. You can see that earnings bounced back a little bit. Sales seem to be moving higher. There's expectations of, positive earnings in 2021. They're getting into electric vehicles, but still selling a lot of high profitability of SUVs and pickups. So a lot of reasons that you could actually be positive on this stock.
Yeah, and potentially an additional catalyst this week would be hear from GM CEO Mary Barra at CES. Sometimes those keynote speeches are loaded with a lot of pretty key announcements that are kind of the roadmap for the company for the year ahead. I'm kind of thinking back to NVIDIA in years past when they had the keynote, Netflix as well. We'll have to see what GM has to say, but a very interesting chart indeed. Just really quickly back on the weekly chart, this stock finished today, I think, if it'll let me click, within 5% or so of that 10-week line. So with it being about 3% still below that traditional pivot, seems like even if you wait, I drew that a little low, but if you wait for that traditional breakout, you're not quite ready to get in at one of these early entries. Seems like it would still be within range and not too extended if you're using that 10-week to buy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And yeah, it's just a nice looking pattern.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. And you can bet the conversation is going to continue tomorrow morning on IBD Live. We hope you join us. Our daily morning live stream, our experts are sharing their screens, talking about top stocks to watch. A lot of these trades in real time in the morning, putting it all into perspective with the market. Also talking about selling strategies too, portfolio management, all those very important ingredients. And we're really hoping for a profitable 2021, no matter what the market throws at us. And I think that is also the key, really listening to what the market's telling us, Ed.
That's the number one thing everybody should be paying attention to.
All right. Well, we hope you tune in investors.com/IBD Live tomorrow morning, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow afternoon.